All right. So in this section right here, we're talking about how to keep track of owners or partners' time. Now, as a business owner, you own the company. Therefore, you can have a choice. If you choose to work for your company, right? The only difference is you own the company, so that means you own the profits that come into your company. So there's really no point to actually have to pay yourself because you can take money away from the company at any given time, right? The company generates money, that's your money. So in this case, right, how do we justify if an owner choose to invest their time into the company again, building their brand name, right? How can we just use this to justify and keep track of the owner's or partner's time to ensure that the reason why the owner's taking money away from the company is to basically pay for him, right? But again, as the owner of the company, you do not pay yourself. You can take money away from the company at any given time, right? To pay for yourself. Okay? But as a person, as an owner of the company, you do not belong on the employees list. Okay? So if you don't belong into the employees list, you're not a customer and you're not a vendor, then who are you? In this case, we have a special list called Other Names. Other Names list is going to be anything that is not, or anybody, excuse me, that is not a vendor, customer, or employee. So this could be anybody such as the owner. If this is a partnership, then the partners, spouses, children, right? That you can just give stuff to, right? Or whatever justifications that you need to put them on the list. Now, as far as this, having the owner's information on the company file should be a must, just because again, you want to know who you're working for, but also be able to contact that person, okay? So in this case, what we're doing here is we're seeing, well, if a owner decides to invest his own time, how does he keep track of his own time? Well, that's what we're going to do is we're first going to start by inserting him into the system in the first place. So we're going to go to list, okay? We're going to locate others names list, okay? And now we get this list where there's nobody on here, so we need to put this person in there. Okay? So there you go. What's the person's name? This person's name is um is Mr. Jamal Williams. Okay? So again, Williams Jamal. Okay? So that means he is the company. He owns the Imagine Photography. Right? That's his company. Right? What's his contact? It's up to you. Does he have a phone number? Does he have what's his name? His name is Mr. First name Jamal. Last name Williams. Okay? It is optional if you want to fill out the rest of the information, but again, it's not necessary if you're not using this profile for in a means of using it for the sake of, contacting the owner. But in this case, if this is all you need, just the first name, last name, not no necessarily having to enter in his phone number, contact, email, whatever it is, that's fine. Okay? So in this case, that's exactly what we're doing. We have we entered in Mr. Jamal Williams, and I can go ahead and save and close. Okay? Or click OK. So there he is. He's on the list now. So now let's go ahead and make a timesheet to keep track of his time. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a weekly timesheet. And this time on my list, who am I going to be recording these times for? And I type in Jamal, and now he appears. Jamal Williams. Okay. And now I need to select the week. So I'm going to do the same week as Mr. Mike Mizuki here. So January 4th through the 10th. Okay, so what did he do? Now notice this. His timesheet looks a little bit different, right? Why? First off, it's the owner of the company, right? You address that he's the owner of the company. He belongs to another names list, so he's not being paid by the company. But what things that can he do to make a note just so then he can keep track of his own time? Okay, so the first thing that we did here is going to be an admin work. Okay, he did some admin work. Okay, so again, it's so notes, right? He didn't do a service item, but for the notes, he did some admin work. Admin, and what class did he belong to? He did for both companies. Maybe he just did some cleaning up, or he did some files. I don't know. He did some admin work, maybe entering people into the system. Okay. And let's see. For this one, he did Monday, he did 3 hours. Tuesday, he did 2 hours. Not 2 hours. And then Wednesday, he did 8 hours. Thursday, he did 9 hours. And Friday, he did 12 hours. Okay? And once again, it's being billed. So in this case, you get this message saying this item has no person that you're being billed for. It's marked billable, and I'm going to click OK. So in this case, I need to uncheck it because the owner can't bill himself for the company, right? He's gonna pay himself no matter what. So there's no point for him to have to bill his own company. So make sure you unselect billable, okay? So then the next line here is going to be what jobs did he contribute to the company? So in this case, he did a job for Maria Cruz once again. So this line here, right? We could say the customer is Maria Cruz. Okay, for the branch opening, what did he do? He did some retouching services. Okay. Any note there? It's pretty straightforward, right? He just retouched the photos, so you don't really need to put a note there specifically. Okay. And then, of course, what class was it? Again, I said Maria's from San Jose, so in this case, I'm going to be consistent. So Maria is in the San Jose. Okay. Again, I'm just going to do retouching. Okay. And how many hours did he do retouching for the company, for Maria? Okay. He did Monday, he did 5 hours. Tuesday, he did 6 hours, and that's it. So he only did work on Monday and Tuesday, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and pass this bill along. Okay? It's already checked as billable. So once again, this is how a owner can justify, okay, well, you know what? I contributed my time to the business, so that means I did some retouching work for Miss Maria Cruz, so I'm going to bill her for that, and I'm going to justify the money that is being paid for those retouching services. That money is going to go to me. Okay, so that's a way that you can justify yourself, so then you don't just take money from your company because you can. Okay, so there you go. Everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and save this timesheet. And of course, I can go ahead and bill Miss Maria Cruz once again. Okay, Maria Cruz. And I have the items selected for the time. So here, notice I have the photographers and the hours that the owner also has did some retouching. So again, each item is based on whatever uh, sales price I already designated. So in this case, there you go. You have outdoor photo sessions, retouching, outdoor retouching. Okay, so there you go. And of course, you could just go ahead and save and close. So that is how you can also keep track of owners' time, partners' times. Just fill in the timesheets and make sure you put them on the others' names list, and you just put in everything the way that they did it, right? Just say this, they just did meetings, they did this. So straightforward how to fill out a timesheet, okay? And how we can pass those bills along to the customer. So in this case, we use this way to give purpose for the owner to also give the owner reason to take money from the company, okay? Because he contributed his time to do some retouching services for Miss Maria Cruz. Okay. All right. Any questions there? Okay. All right. Last section on the billable cost tabs is going to be mileage, okay? Yes, for any kind of company who has travel in their expenses, right? So for example, this is a photography type of company, right? They have to travel to places, to go to random locations, because again, if someone is designating a specific place, right, then the photographers have to travel to that location to be able to take those pictures, right? So again, maybe national parks, maybe some random street in the neighborhood. They have to drive to that location because the customer wants that for that outdoor photo session. They want the photographers to take pictures there, okay? So for instances, when you have a company that has to travel from one place to an on-site location to an off-site location, right? This is where travel and mileage comes into play. Now, if you actually go ahead and know this for a fact, for just understanding how a business works, mileage is one of those components that is tax exempt. Okay, it's a tax write-off, but also it's reimbursable. It is a law that if that for any company that forces their employees to travel from one location to another location, right? Not just going to the job. If they're going to the job, no, they don't need to pay them for that. But if the job requires them to go to an off-site location, then yes, it is by law that you have to reimburse the employee by per mile how much they can get reimbursed for, okay? That is only if they use their own car. If they choose to use the company car, no, you don't need to write off any of that, right? Because all of those, because the company car, the boss already pays gas for that. So in this case, right, if the person is not using their own car and uses the company's car, they don't need to get reimbursed for the gas. However, if they choose to use their own car just because it's convenient, right? If the job requires them to be there by 8 a.m., right? There's no purpose to have to drive backwards to go to the store to pick up the car to drive from there to point A to point B, right? Then that is where, okay, fine. That's going to be one of the for instances that they do not need to use the company car and use their own car, but they have to save the receipt because the way that it's being counted or tracked is going to be based on how many miles the car drove. Okay, so that is definitely a reimbursable expense that is very common in a lot of companies. Okay, that you have a job where it requires you to go off site. So again, on site means you're going to go to your actual store. Off site means you're not going to your store. Okay, so in this case, how do I track this? Well, for instance, right, you can also keep track of it if it's your own company car as well. But in this case, we're going to be using Mike's car, okay? So you need to, first thing that you need to have in your system is you need to have the car already in the books, okay? So in this case, we already do, right? We already have the car in the books already. So everything's set up for you, okay? And we'll talk about how do you add vehicles or things on a fixed asset list, right? That's chapter 14, right? But let's talk about how we're going to reimburse for that mileage. So first off, we got to do is we got to go create an item, okay? So items and services, we're going to create an other charge item, okay? And this one's going to be called mileage, right? Basically, you're going to use this as a means to also use this item to charge your customers as well, okay? So again, customers can only be charged using items for mileage. So item is already going to be part of an expense here. So let's see. Do we have an item for mileage? No, we don't. So we got to create one. Oop. We got to create one. So go here, new, and it's going to be an other charge item. Okay. And what's going to be this is going to be for mileage. Okay. And this is, you need to select this, that this is part of an assembly. Okay. Description, reimbursements for mileage. Okay. So how much is it going to cost you? You don't know. Okay. How much is it going to be paid for? You don't know. But at least you know this, right? That the item here is going to be collected not as income, but it's going to be collected as an automobile expense. Okay, hold on. Item is an assembly, expense, auto expense income. Expense account. So what's it going to cost you? This is going to charge you as an mobile expense. And what kind of income is it? It's going to be obviously the reimbursable expense income, right? And gas is taxed, I believe. I think so. Let's see. Okay, so once everything looks good, okay, right, we don't know what the price point is because, again, it's going to be based how many miles you drive, and we don't know how much you're going to get reimbursed for. So in this case, right, we can leave it like that, okay? And we can go ahead and click OK. So now I have that item here, right? So now let's go ahead and enter in those mile times, okay? So how am I going to do that? What you're going to do is you're going to go to your company menu bar, okay? Under your company menu, so you only have one area to do it. Company menu, you're going to locate, enter vehicle mileage, okay? So again, we did say that you have to have the vehicle in the books already, and we do. It's a 2020 Prius. Okay. Okay. 2020 Prius. Okay. Oh, it's a 2024 Prius. Excuse me. In this case, I need to fix that. It's a 2024 Prius. Okay. In this case, let's see what happens. I think I have to add it in here. Okay, add. Okay, what is the vehicle? It is a 2024 Prius, Toyota Prius. Prius. Okay. Description, vehicle is inactive. No. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so there you go. You need to figure out what is the day that you start traveling. Okay, so that means this trip is going to start as of, let's see. All right, so this trip is going to start on January 1st of 2025. Okay, I'm going to make it realistic. I'm going to say January 22. I'm going to say the 1st, okay? So that means once I drove here, it's going to also mean I'm going to end my day January 1st of 2022, okay? I'm not going to take this on a 3-day trip, no. All right, so that's that there. Now, I need to do what a odometer measure, meaning I need to, before I start driving the car, I need to check how many miles is on the odometer. Okay, so in this case, they tell you that your odometer started, okay, it started at 7,005 or 75,042. Okay, that's a lot of miles. It's already on here. Okay. And so then what happened when you came back from the trip? How many miles did you drive? So in this case, it tells you that the end is going to be 75,252. Okay. Oh, okay. I made a typo here. I added too many zeros. So this is 75042. And then my end is 75,252. So that means I drove a grand total of 210 miles from the location, right? So that's just doing that for what you had to do for the car, okay? And when you took it out, okay? And then let's see. Who was the customer that I drove for? In this case, I drove all the way to San Jose for Bob Mason's photo shoot. He wanted an outdoor photo session. So I put in Bob Mason, and of course, I'm going to select, I'm going to bill him for it. Okay? And what item am I going to use? Once again, what did we classify the reimbursement for? We did it for the mileage. Okay? And what class is it for? San Jose. Okay? And what are the notes that you're going to put in for this trip? For this trip, you did a photo session, and you had to travel there. So this case, you're going to go ahead and type in here that you did a San Jose site visit for a photo shoot. Okay. San Jose site visit photo. Okay. You drove 210 miles from the store all the way to wherever this location is, okay, San Jose for this site location. So again, Santa Clara to San Jose, I don't know how many miles that is, but pretty far drive. So there you go, okay? Now that's just filling out this information here. Now, the next thing we got to do is we need to lock in what is the mileage rate. So in this case, I need to go to mileage rate right here. This is where you need to put this in because this is governed by the IRS. This is what the IRS tells the company, saying, hey, you better reimburse your employees for this rate. So in this case, I need to look up the 2020 2024, apparently. I'm going to do 2022. So in this case, I'm going to look up the date. Okay, I don't want 2011. I want, I should probably fast forward this actually. I want January 1st of 2022. Okay, so here I click here, and that means it will tell me that my percent rate is right here. I think I can change this to 0.0575, right? It's about 5. We can reimburse up to 5.75 cents per mile. I'm sorry, 57.5 cents. Cannot do math right now. So 57.5 cents is what I can reimburse per gallon, right? I select this one, okay, and I can go ahead and click close, okay? So I just put in the mileage in there already, right? That it's going to be 57.5 cents reimbursed, okay? Now again, once I've done that and set that, I have everything on here, and then now I can go ahead and bill Mr. Bob Mason for this trip here. So I save and close, okay? And now I can go ahead and set up. So this is what you can do, right? We've seen this already where I can tack on as many, I can tack on as many reimbursable expenses as possible. So in this case, I click on Bob Mason. He has a bunch of things that he's done, right? He ordered a lot of time, right? He required Mike Mizuki to go out there and take his outdoor photo session, right? He wanted Mike to do the job. Expenses, right? We also charged him, okay, for a specialized film, okay? We also charged him for mileage, right? Because Mike had to drive from the Santa Clara store all the way to San Jose location. So we're going to have Bob also pay for Mike's travels, okay? Make sure that every one of them is print the items all in one line, okay? Actually, it's up to you if you want to print them all in one line. If you want Bob to see everything, then I say no, don't do it. I want him to see every little detail that we charged him for. And then the items, let me see, what did we buy him? We got him a photographer. Okay? We got him 15 photographers, okay? So once everything looks good, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So what's going to happen is all of those things are going to come up, all right? Now, here's one thing I see. So for the mileage, it didn't go through. So in this case, we know that the rate for this, he drove 210 miles, right? We know already that the rate of this is going to be 57.5 cents. So therefore, there you go. He needs to reimburse you for $120. And check it out. So that listed everything on here. Now, what they tell you to do here is, instead of this line that says total reimbursable expenses, change this line, because this is your description. We're going to change this and make it say total, what did I say? Total services. Okay? Total services. Okay? And of course, you can also get rid of this 20% markup. Okay. Actually, you're supposed to change this one. So go back so we can clear that out. We don't need to put the markup here. And then we could say total services. Okay. Now, of course, if I want to view this, right, we've already done it before, right? We could do a print preview, and this is what's going to be billed to Mr. Bob Mason in detail, because that's important, right? What if he wants to know what this everything is? Instead of having everything up in one line, at least he could see this. Okay, I have to pay for 15 photographers. I have to pay $250 worth of mileage, reimburse that person, right? I have to pay for all of these photo sessions to Mike, right? It lists all the stuff in detail of what the total services had. And of course, I changed the line here to say total services. Okay, and you got charged Santa Clara sales tax, and so on and so forth. So that's what you do. So in case for any reason that your customer does want a full description of everything, all you have to do is just make sure that you kind of make changes to things like markup, okay? Because you definitely don't want that to be displaying on a customer's invoice, but things like that, right? I listed out all the details in regards to the services that we provided for Mr. Bob Mason here, right? So, any questions in regards to billable, how we do it for time, expenses, items, and mileage? No questions? Okay. So last section for today is I skipped over the time report. So once again, if time is something that you want to keep track of, this is definitely more so for whoever's in the position of the human resources, right? Because if they're keeping track of people clocking in and clocking out, then those reports are going to be based around them, okay? Or it could be based around the owner itself to see how many hours is each employee doing, right? What kind of work are they doing? How many hours are they actually clocking in? So in this case, right, all we got to do here is you're going to locate jobs and times and mileage. So here you're able to look at the jobs. So again, how many people did you assign those jobs to? Okay. You can take a look here about one more. No, that's right. So jobs, times, and estimates. So then again, look at here, time by job. So you could see how much time did you spend for Maria Cruz branch opening, right? You can even look at time by name, looking at how many hours Mike has done versus, Katie, who's the other employee, okay? And of course, you can even look at how many miles a vehicle has been driven, okay? So again, these are just going to be pretty much reports that is probably more for the human resources. So again, human resources, they might be the person that's also reimbursing for mileage. They can either, I know they have to cut a separate check and it's not included into their check. So it has to be a separate check that they have to mail out. So again, those are the reports that you can do for time. Okay. All right. So now that we covered everything in chapter 9, so this one is why I left job costing to be for chapter 9, just because in this case, you have a clear vision of why you would use job costing, right? For any instances that a job requires to be assigned to somebody, that's what you do, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and go over the multiple choice questions again. Okay, so once again, your job is to select the best answers for each of the following. So, number 1, in QuickBooks, okay, you are allowed to pass through billable expenses to customers. C is correct. If you use the bill, check, or credit card charges and then assign the customer slash job, okay? And of course, you also have to also make sure that billable icon or that billable check mark is check mark, okay, for those expenses that applies to that person, okay? Excellent. Number 2, which account types can be used in the expense tab for a purchase transaction, okay, to mark or to make the expense billable? So what are the options that you can choose to be able to be a billable expense? D, all the above, right? Pretty much it says its name right in there. Billable expense, so that means it's going to be all of these, right? It's going to be an expense, it's going to be an other expense. Cost of goods sold, okay? Cost of goods sold is actually categorized as an expense. It's an expense of the company because you had to pay, okay? So cost of goods sold is linked directly to your inventory as well as your sales, right? When you sell something, right, that means you got rid of your inventory. So that means you have to calculate how much it costs you to sell. And we call that as an expense towards the company because you had to buy the product first before you sell it. So yes, these are all expenses, and just like in its word, billable expense, these are all acceptable. Okay. There's one more other one. Other assets, I believe, is also going to be a option for billable expenses. Okay. Number 3, if you want to assign an expense to a customer/job, but do not want to pass them through for reimbursements, okay, do the following in a purchase transaction.
B as in boy.
B as in boy. Let's see. Number 3, B as in boy is correct. You would assign the customer/job, but then remove the check mark on the billable column. Correct, right? If you don't, you still want to assign the job to them, but you don't want to bill them, right? Because we did that one example, right? I don't want to charge Maria Cruz for the shipping, right? I'm just gonna include it in the price of the camera. That all I do is just assign them, but I don't have to make the check mark if I don't want to send the bill along. Okay. Number 4, okay. Which of the following tabs appears in the choose billable time and cost window? D, all the above is correct. And once again, yes, we talked about the first thing that we talked about was expenses, right? How do you create billable expenses? Second one was creating custom items, right? And then the third one was time, right? The last one was mileage. So again, yes, all 3 of these tabs do appear on the billable cost, time, and cost window. Okay. Number 5, in an invoice, you can automatically mark up the pass-through expense using the markup account option, okay, which is only available in which choose billable time and cost window option tab. So you only see it in one place where you can have the capabilities to mark up an item. B, expenses tab. Yes, okay? Because in this case, right, when I showed you the items, right, you have to mark that up manually in the sales form, okay? For other ones, such as time, right, we associated time with the item. So every outdoor photo session, we already marked on that item that we're going to upcharge, okay? So again, the only place that you see this markup percentage is going to be on the expenses tab. Number 6, okay, to track reimbursable expenses in one expense account, okay, and then reimbursements in another income account, what do you do? Number 6 is C. Yes, you can do both A and B. So A says you're going to select the track reimburse expenses as income option, okay, in the time and expenses company preferences. And then B, you're also going to associate each reimbursable expense account with an appropriate income account. So again, if you remember from the very beginning, right, I mentioned this, right? If you do not link your items or accounts to a reimbursable income account, that means it's a regular expense, meaning that's an expense that you have to spend in order to operate your company. But if it's something that a customer can reimburse you for, you have to go into that designated account and you have to select when you edit the account, you have to select to make this item or this account reimbursable, and you must designate an income account for it. Okay, so if you remember that one, right, when we had to fix the postage and delivery account, you need to do that. And of course, you need to set the preferences for it as well. Okay. Number 7. Okay, if you select print selected time and costs onto one invoice item, which of the following will be true?
D.
Letter D is
D.
correct. D. D is in dog. Okay, all of the above will be true. Okay. A says all of the reimbursable expenses will be printed on a single line in the body of the printed invoice. Yes, we saw before, right? When on our end, right, all we see was a list of everything, including the markup, right? But when I preview it, it all was together in one line that said total reimbursable costs, right? Or services. I don't know what it said, but it was all together in one line. B says a group called reimbursed group will be created in the invoice. So there you go, right? And then C says reimbursed group will include the details of all of the expenses that you selected on the invoice displayed. Yes, right? It did have all of them that we selected, right? So, for example, Bob Mason or Maria Cruz, right? We had a whole bunch of things that we listed for her. It all put together in one line. Okay, so in this case, letter D, all of the above is correct. Okay. Number 8, a two-sided item can be used for
D.
D as in David is correct, right? We saw this, right? It's in that list of the two under the two-sided items section there. It will list out these things right here that you're going to have a reimbursable expense. You can use it for custom orders and you can use it for subcontractor, right? I showed you all 3 examples today. Okay. Number 9, okay? For a two-sided non-inventory item, okay, you set up without a specific cost or sales price, okay? How would you, okay, record the markup in the sales price?
C as Charlie.
C as in Charlie for number 10, or for number 9, excuse me, number 9, yes, C is correct. Okay, you're gonna mark up and adjust the price right directly on the sales form itself. Right, we did this many times.
Quick math, right?
This is where we do the quick math, correct? Right? Where you're just gonna type in the number, you're gonna multiply it by the percentage of markup. Usually, if you're going to include the markup in the price, you have to make sure it's 1 point, whatever the percentage is. Because that's going to calculate this. 1, so times, so the amount that you said it's about, plus the percentage of markup. So it gives you a total at the end. Number 10. To see a detailed listing of all the billable expenses and items that you have not passed. Okay, passed not through to invoices. What do you need to do?
C as Charlie.
C as in Charlie is correct. You're going to create a unbilled cost by job report. Okay. Yeah, so again, you would have to read to know that. Number 11. Okay, vehicle mileage tracker. Okay, allows you to
A.
track vehicle mileage track vehicle mileage, comma, and post mileage to invoices, and of course run reports to assign the tax, to assist with the tax preparer. Yes. Okay. So yes, the main core of this is to just keep track of the vehicle mileage itself. Okay. Number 12. Before you can use the time tracking feature, you must
B.
C as in Charlie is correct. You must turn on the time tracking in the time and expenses preferences. Yes. So again, question at the top of that window is, do you keep track of time? You select yes, then you'll have the enter times option. Okay. Number 13. Okay. If you plan to use timesheets to create paychecks, you should
B as boy.
B as in boy is correct for 13, right? You're going to record all of the times for each of the employees, okay? And of course, which is going to include non-billable time as well, okay? And of course, it's going to be all on the timesheet, right? And here, when we dive into tomorrow's chapter, tomorrow we're going to talk about how to set up payroll. Next week on Monday is where we actually see how we actually pay our employees. Okay? And if we use the timesheet, what happens is that if you say that you do go ahead and keep track of time, what happens is it will automatically create your paychecks for you. It will use the information because when you enter in the time, right? And when we set up the payroll items tomorrow, okay? When we go ahead and issue it, it's going to pull all the information from the timesheet and create the actual paycheck right then and there. Okay, it's going to take all the information saying, oh, this person did X amount of time, or this is how many hours that they worked. So it's going to pull all the information from the timesheet automatically. You don't need to forward it, or you don't need to convert it into a paycheck. It will do it for you automatically. Okay? Number 14. Okay. Timesheets provide the basic information for a job costing, but they do not actually record job costs. Okay. So again, of course, right, for instance, like they don't tell you how much the job costs, right? It just keeps track of the time. Okay, in order to use the timesheet information to record the job costing, you have to pass through the timesheet through information onto a blank.
Wouldn't it be B as in boy?
For number 14, can you pass through the timesheet information to a invoice? Okay,
I have the same question, but I think it's A because we actually have to pay for it to see the cost. So it's A.
so in this case, the book does say A is the correct answer. now let's break down this question, okay? So timesheets provide the basic information of a job costing, but they do not actually record the actual job cost itself. So in this case, okay. So in this case, this question is asking, right? If we want to charge our customers, right, and pass the bill along. Now, in this case, can we have the option for the customers to reimburse the employees?
No.
No, you wouldn't do that, right? It's through the paycheck, right? The check, the bill, right? Or the credit card charges, right? Only those are going to be able to be processing the employee for the timesheet because they're on your payroll. So therefore, you won't be able to pass it through to the invoice. You only pass it through to, again, if you have, for instance, if you're going to have a customer reimburse you. But in reality, you're still going to pay the employee no matter what. Even if the customer reimburses the client for that or the employee for it, you're still going to pay the employee at the end of the day.
Okay? Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Number 15. Okay, after you post timesheets through information to paychecks and invoices, okay, the timesheet will affect.
See? Doesn't it affect all of them?
It does affect all of them. Yes, it affects the income, right? It affects the job costing reports. It also affects the expenses. Yeah, because again, the first primary thing about a timesheet, right? So in this case, if you post the timesheet information to paychecks, right? That's already an expense that you have to use for the company, right? Because you have to pay your employees. They're an expense to your company. Okay, so that's C is going to be, yes, that's the most obvious answer. But in this case, how does paying a employee affect the income? Well, they did the job, right? They earned you that income, right? And then of course, job costing reports. If you assign this employee that they did this job for them, of course it's going to affect the job costing report. Okay.
Well, and the invoice generally almost always affects the income somewhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because if you're passing it along to the invoice, right, you're essentially saying, hey, this person contributed a portion of their time to generate the income that is being invoiced to the customer. Right? All right, that is it for today. Okay. Any other questions in regards to chapter 9? Go ahead and stick around to ask them.